Nice place to anchor on that. Let's switch gears to electoral reforms. The Electoral Act was amended by the National Assembly. But what was shocking was, in spite of the hues and cries of the generality of Nigerians.
There are no generalities.
Shegun, let me ask you a question now. We saw them. We all live in this country.
You saw your friends. Go ahead.
My friends. I don't have friends. Okay. I'm a journalist. I'm a professional.
I know you are.
Civil society organizations.
Some.
Of course, opposition political parties.
Some.
They protested heavily at the National Assembly.
Is that right?
And in the public, of course, they're guaranteed by the Constitution. Everywhere, protested that, hey, we do not want manual collation of results. Because one of the big takeaways from 2023 general elections that went all the way to the Supreme Court was that the Supreme Court said INEC is only advised to use electronic transmission. That is not mandatory. So now everybody is saying make electronic transmission of election results mandatory. And then they said, oh, we'll do it. But then they now added, they opened the window for manual collation. And everybody said, no, remove that. Before you could drop a pin, the president signed it in less than 24 hours. My question, Segun, you're my brother. We're very honest. We're black people. We're very honest.
Have you ever met me and not answer a question honestly?
Be honest. Nigerians, this is the fate of this country depends on not necessarily you. What is the National Assembly and the president? What was the haste all about? What are they afraid of?
Now, you have laid the question. Yes. So now, calmly let me respond.
Absolutely.
When the conversation about the amendment of the Electoral Act was ongoing, the vast majority of these people who like to put placards in people's hands did not attend or pay attention to it. I wrote and paid attention and went to the Senate to go and push my position as to what I wanted in that act as the alternative. Lawmaking is not on the day they do the voting that you lobby. Every constituent has representative in the House of Assembly and the Senate. And that decision on who you send is so critical because when issues like this come up, you ought to be able to go to your people and tell them what's your position. And they ought to be able to bring their position to reflect your voting pattern. But you know what? We joke too much in this country. In the first instance, I have been quite offended by the idea that the Nigerian nation believes that every 4 years they need a new Electoral Act. It's painful that what we should do by reorientation, by attitudinal change, and by punishment and consequence, we have imagined that we can do it by writing laws, which on their own will not even implement themselves. Those are foundational. Now to the Electoral, the act that has been signed is a good act. People imagine things that are not real. For instance, election is a process. You go to the polling unit. There is a machine that already has all the details of the people who are registered in that polling unit stored in there. It doesn't need a flyaway kit or internet to operate. It's there already physically. You walk with your leg manually there. You bring your finger manually. You produce your ID manually. They verify you. So the process of just ensuring that the person holding the ID is the person that wants to exercise the franchise electronically. They give you a piece of paper printed manually. They didn't give you a machine to top print like you are doing ATM. You go into one corner and do something like tipping your hand manually in the ink, Then you fold it, you drop it in a box, a manual box. They have to pour it out and say it's empty. Then they sort it. Your agents are there to collect for your party manually. Then they start counting 1, 2, it will be 1 name, 3. I'm just being funny here. They count it manually. When they finish counting manually, they have to write it on a piece of paper anyway. Otherwise, they won't record it anywhere. There's a Form CATA. They record it manually. They give every party agent 1. And then you want a situation where that Form CATA is stored on the IREV. Yeah. Now, the Electoral Act has been written to say, do so, but also know that where you don't have signal, this is the fallback position. You all are some of your friends who are always, they will protest even if they give them food. If they give them food to eat, they will still protest that the salt is not enough. When they are to be screaming and shouting and jumping, and then obviously we don't make laws on the street, we make laws in the hollow chamber. It was subjected to a vote. They voted, the law was signed. to put an end to the charade, they take it to the president. Most presidents don't even sign a new act when they are going for second term. They would rather delay and then use the act that they are used to do their election. Then, like Buhari and a few of them, when they are now about to go, they will sign so people can go. But this guy is brave. He doesn't even know what this act will mean when it starts being operated upon. He signed it. You know the problem with opposition, even though I'm part of us? Our problem is that opposition is strategically lazy. You have about 90 million now registered votes and collected PVC. And all we will do is argue. We should be interested in turnout. And if the people turn out significantly and they turn out well, we should know that it will be almost impossible for anybody to overwhelm an electorate when it's in the minority. The Electoral Act with which Buhari was installed was not an Electoral Act written by Buhari now. You see, what opposition is doing, which is painful, is that opposition is the one that is depressing the electorate by running on a single narrative of your vote will not count, your vote will not count, your vote will not count. If you tell people their vote will not count, why should they bother? So I say, the constitution of some countries, that of the United States, is as small as this. Britain does not even have a written one. Our own is as big as from here to the ceiling. And yet we cannot implement it. So what did I do? I started what you call the alternative movement, that we can go back to the electorate, beg them, plead with them, encourage them to show more interest in this thing. We are to make the people take ownership of the process. We don't have to start assuming that whatever we don't get means that it's bad. The cup may not be full. Developmental cup is always half empty. You have to always view it from the point of view of half empty, so you don't get into inertia. Whether they like it or not, the act is in place. Instead of us to be screaming and shouting, why don't we just get to work and try to get good candidates? What are they doing? They're fighting. So, at the end of the day, if you don't like the act, there's nothing you can do about it. It's now law. You have to wait until you have enough numbers in the State and National Assembly, have enough numbers in the Senate, make sure you bring in sensible people, and then you can get the kind of law you want. And in doing so, also know, for you to have electronic transmission collation that you want, we will need a complete overhaul of the voting process, including electronic machines that allows us to either vote remotely from our houses or vote and it flies away. It's almost like the way we do our ATM. If you took money from your ATM now, immediately your money goes to remote. The technology exists, but maybe we have not developed ourselves for that purpose. And if we have not, we cannot design an electoral act that will give us problems at implementation. For instance, in a nation that you have a lot of electricity glitches, imagine somebody was just to sabotage the electricity and glitched it, maybe in Kanji or something, and then we have a glitch. And for that glitch, if it lasts about 3 hours, and then we say it's all gone. Imagine somebody was just to interfere with it and hack it. There has the paper trail and the electronic trail. We'll get there.
To the extent, that when you started, to the extent that you said, why we fixated unnecessarily over a piece of legislation rather than, attitudinal change, cultural practices, mindset. I agree with you. You're spot on that. But opposition and the generality of Nigerians.
There's no generality of Nigerians. That's what I keep saying. When you say listen,
Shegun, let me
I want to tell you something. I want to quarrel with that adjective. You see, there is always the.
I did not quarrel.
No, I'm coming. I want to quarrel because you invited me. I'm your guest. I'm quarreling with the use of the word generality. There are 220 million people in this country. Yes. A handful of men cannot stimulate their fans to do protests, and then you call it generality.
The media.
What about me? Do you know who I am? Do you know how many media things I promote and I run and I fund?
We feel the pulse.
I do the same, and I'm trying to tell you that don't say generality. Just say some. You can use a cross section.
Segun, let's make progress. Number one, there are 97 million. In fact, over 100
million. Did 97 million of them go and protest?
Hold on now. There are over 100 million registered voters. And then there are some who are still considering whether to join or not because of. But this is the issue. I agree with you that what we need most is attitudinal change.
Absolutely.
But then you cannot, fault the concerns of Nigerians. So
I'm not faulting their concerns.
I've removed generality. And then the concerns of opposition because
I'm not
in 2023 there was a glitch that did not happen in every other election except the presidential election. There was no glitch except in that presidential election. And then Here's the one that bothers me, because I teach process management.
Thank you.
I teach management. I teach
Thank you.
all sorts of
Welcome
management.
to what I do.
Now, when this law is passed from the National Assembly, this is the shocker for me. It is meant to go to the INEC to review it within 30 days. It is meant to go to Ministry of Finance, who funds INEC, to review it in 90 days or in 30 days. It's meant to go to about 4 or 5 different, agencies. It didn't go to and that document is 120 pages. I read it. There's no way President Tinubu would have read that document overnight. But then he hurriedly appended his signature.
Mm-hmm.
What is the undue haste?
Okay.
So the question is, that's number 2. Is this a pretext to rigging 2027?
Okay.
Yes.
When you had it on paper,
Yes.
he defeated you. You say if it is not electronic, you will defeat him. Well, that's in the future. We'll see the outcome. He signed it. You query. If we told his assent, you would have still queried. Don't create a nation of damn you do, damn you don't. You are a living member of the world community now. Do you know how many executive orders the President of America has signed only by a stroke of the pen? And then all of those executive orders have had far-reaching implications even for the geopolitics of the world. Do you know that by a presidential fiat, he has deployed significant help to help us degrade insecurity in our country? A president is an executive authority in motion. He is not tone deaf, or should not be tone deaf, neither should he be blind to the issues that are trending and interesting and even probably heightened in the society. He gets significant reports. All of the organs, including the legislature and the judiciary, draw their execution from this executive. That responsibility is so serious. If he signs anything into law, that is the law. You can, I wish they didn't pour the water on the ground. It's on the ground already. I wish they spent 30 days. 30 days, he has decided to read it overnight. That you did not read 120 pages in 3 weeks does not mean that a fast reader cannot read it overnight. If he sees the areas that are contentious, which is, should we do it fully electronic and remove manual? If he's persuaded by the argument that persuaded the Senate, that persuaded the voting pattern of the House of Assembly, why will he now be having an alternative point of view to what has been passed? What you are doing, my brother, and by inference, your colleagues. And that's why I started by saying we need to now come and do a new refresher course. Let's even call ourselves together as professionals in this field, as partakers of this grain, and say, okay, let's now come and review what's the new way forward given what we are seeing in the world. We cannot insist that on all issues, our responsibility is to use the small platforms or big platforms we have to constantly be, regurgitating arguments that are kindergarten. The facts are that once this thing started more than 2 years. I already told you. I wrote a position paper. I went to the house. When I got there, I said, the alternative, they collected it. They invited me. I stood on the podium. I told them what I was concerned about. I told them, I wrote the clauses I wanted them to. I passed it on to them. They gave me the opportunity. They even joked. Say, there's no alternative. I said, yes, there is an alternative. Where were the others? Political parties cannot stumble. They can't wake up in the midnight and start saying, we don't agree what were your members doing? You don't have a uni-party as a national senate and rep. And if your members are decamping, I tried to introduce a clause into the Electoral Act. You know what that clause was? I tried to say, since we have seen that people are just decamping anyhow after having one mandate, that we should write a clause into our Electoral Act that says that if you decamp, you are not eligible to fly the flag of a party until after 4 years, just to slow down the campaign. Nations are led by thinkers, not by emotional ones who are just trying to instigate society against themselves. The fact of the matter is that it's a good act. I've read it, I've reviewed it, I've subjected it to a lot. The only thing I would have preferred they didn't say, which they said in that act, I would have preferred they didn't remove the delegate system. Because, let me tell you why. Now that they've said it must be either a full Congress, the indirect primaries, or what they call it, or direct primaries or consensus, and they gave the consensus, it must be out if everybody agrees. The major problem I see is that the resources required for political parties, not the fat boys of APC, to create electronic register is not small. Before you can create bankable electronic register, you will have to deploy some effort. That means that it has become extremely expensive for aspirants. If I want to go to a primary, and I know that it's three delegates per ward, times 236 ward, I get about 760. If I decide, okay, I'm going to vote a certain amount of money for them, I'll be out of it. They may vote and they may not vote. Do you know what it's going to cost me to go through the entire polling, the entire ward structures we have? That's a lot of logistics. Do you know how long it will cost us to be able to ensure that we can even validate the votes? Do you know what it will cost us to make sure that the person that is in the register and calling himself Mr. Oluwade would be somebody that is the real one, somebody else is not? Do you know, it's a lot of work. And you people brought this on us because you choose to insist that, oh, once an outcome does not favor you in an election, it is rigged. Sometimes the man who won is also a victim. He's a victim of your desire to win, which you didn't get, and now he must be guilty. Did the person who win, was he the one that wrote the Electoral Act? Was he INEC? You will leave INEC, who conducted an election, and you'll be beating the winner. That's too much of a jeopardy. You need to help me on this. You need to help me to get us to know that all of the things we complain about in our election, they are all human errors. And if we started changing our ways, if we stop putting all of these shenanigans into it, if we understand that service is about serving people, and you don't need to serve people by force. You should present yourself so that they have an option of picking you. But if they don't pick you, they have not offended you. Brilliant. Then we'll be able to get a better. We're not the only country running democracy, and we cannot be the only country that will be singing, shouting, dancing, solely on everything.
Segun, I want us to do this, rapid fire.
I'm enjoying you.
One bit of this act, a lot of the act is actually good.
Exactly.
Like I told you, I read it thrice.
Are you going to contest an election?
No.
Okay, just so that I need to know.
Yes. Now, the question is this. 1 minute or less. One other contentious part is where they said vote riggers, violent purveyors in elections and all of that. Those who do vote buying, that the punishment was 5 million and jail term, 5 million plus jail term. In the wisdom of the National Assembly members, they removed the jail term and just left the fine, monetary fine. And the response of informed societies, why? Is it because the members of the National Assembly themselves know they are as guilty as their, boys who do this? One minute or less.
The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind.
Okay.
It's blowing in the wind.